The coastal town of Windhaven was a place where secrets lingered like the mist that rolled in from the sea each morning. Tucked away from the bustling cities, it was known for its quaint charm, dramatic cliffs, and the lighthouse that had guided sailors safely to shore for generations. But beneath its picturesque exterior, Windhaven harbored tales of love, betrayal, and mysteries that refused to be forgotten. At the center of this tale was Isabelle Marlowe, a young woman whose beauty was matched only by her intelligence. She had returned to Windhaven after years away, inheriting her late aunt's sprawling estate, Rosewood Manor. The manor, with its ivy-covered walls and creaking floors, was the stuff of local legends, whispered to be haunted by the ghosts of past lovers. Isabelle's return to Windhaven stirred old emotions in two men who had once loved her deeply, Ethan Blackwood and Gabriel Sinclair. The three of them had been inseparable in their youth, but time and circumstances had driven them apart, leaving wounds that had never fully healed. Ethan, the town's sheriff, was a man of steady demeanor and unwavering loyalty. He had always harbored a deep, steadfast love for Isabelle, one that had never wavered despite the years that had passed. Gabriel, on the other hand, was a charismatic artist, known for his brooding passion and fiery temperament. His love for Isabelle had been tempestuous, marked by intense highs and devastating lows. As Isabelle settled back into life at Rosewood Manor, the town buzzed with speculation. People wondered if she had returned to rekindle old flames, or if her reasons were more mysterious. Isabelle herself wasn't sure. She had loved both men in different ways, and the scars of those relationships still lingered. One evening, as the sun set over the ocean, Isabelle found herself drawn to the cliffs overlooking the sea, a place where she, Ethan, and Gabriel had spent countless hours in their youth. She was lost in thought when Ethan appeared, his presence familiar and comforting. They spoke of old times, their conversation filled with unspoken words and lingering glances. Ethan was careful, trying not to pressure her, but his feelings were clear. Later that night, back at Rosewood Manor, Isabelle was startled by a knock at her door. It was Gabriel, his eyes intense and full of unspoken emotions. Unlike Ethan, Gabriel didn't hold back. He confessed that his feelings for her had never faded, that he had spent the years trying to forget her, only to realize that she was the one who had always inspired his art, the muse he could never replace. Caught between the steady, reliable love of Ethan and the passionate, unpredictable love of Gabriel, Isabelle's heart was in turmoil. But as much as she was drawn to the two men, there was something else, something darker, pulling at her from the shadows of Rosewood Manor. Strange things began to happen in the manor. Isabelle would wake up to find doors ajar that she was sure she had locked, or hear whispers in the hallways when she was alone. At first, she dismissed them as the creaks and groans of an old house, but soon, the incidents became too frequent to ignore. One night, while searching the manor for the source of a strange noise, Isabelle stumbled upon a hidden room behind a bookcase in the library. The room was small, filled with dust-covered furniture and faded photographs, but what caught her eye was a journal lying on an old desk. It belonged to her aunt, Catherine Marlowe, and it detailed a love affair that had taken place many years ago. A love triangle between Catherine, a man named Thomas, and another whose name had been violently scratched out of the pages. The more Isabelle read, the more she realized that history was repeating itself. Her aunt had been in love with two men, torn between them just as Isabelle was now. But the journal ended abruptly with a final chilling entry. "He knows. I fear for my life. If anything happens to me, the truth lies beneath the waves. Haunted by the implications, Isabelle turned to Ethan and Gabriel for help, showing them the journal. Both men were shocked by the revelation, but as they delved deeper into the mystery, the tension between them grew. Old rivalries and jealousies resurfaced, each man convinced that he was the one who could protect Isabelle and solve the mystery. As they searched for answers, the clues led them to the cliffs where Catherine had often met her lovers. There, at the edge of the world, the truth began to emerge. Catherine had not simply vanished as the town had believed. She had been murdered, pushed off the cliffs by one of her lovers, though the identity of the killer remained hidden. Ethan and Gabriel grew more suspicious of each other, each wondering if the other was capable of such a crime. Isabelle found herself caught in the middle, unsure of whom to trust. The love she felt for both men was now tainted by fear and doubt. One stormy night, as the sea raged against the cliffs, Isabelle decided to confront the past once and for all. She returned to the cliffs alone, hoping to find something, anything, that would reveal the truth. As she stood at the edge, the wind whipping her hair, she felt a presence behind her. It was Gabriel. His eyes were wild, filled with a mix of love and desperation. He confessed that he had been obsessed with uncovering the truth, that he had gone through Catherine's things, hoping to find some clue that would explain the connection between their lives. Ethan appeared moments later, his face set in grim determination. He accused Gabriel of trying to manipulate Isabelle, of playing with her emotions just as he had with Catherine. The tension between the two men reached a breaking point, and they began to argue fiercely, their voices drowned out by the crashing waves. In the midst of the chaos, Isabelle suddenly remembered the last words of her aunt's journal. The truth lies beneath the waves. She realized that the key to the mystery was not on the cliffs, but below them, in the water that had witnessed everything. Without a word, she turned and began climbing down the rocks, her heart pounding as she approached the hidden cove that had been mentioned only once in Catherine's journal. The two men, caught off guard, followed her, their argument forgotten in the face of her determination. In the cove, they found an old rusted chest, half buried in the sand. Inside were letters, photographs, and finally, a confession. A letter from Catherine's lover, who had been driven mad by jealousy. The man she had loved most, the one she had chosen, had turned on her when he discovered her affair with the other. In a fit of rage, he had pushed her from the cliffs, then fled, leaving the town to believe she had run away. But the most shocking revelation was still to come. As Isabelle read the letter, she realized that the man who had killed her aunt was not a stranger. It was Gabriel's grandfather, who had been deeply involved with Catherine before she met Thomas. The darkness in his family had never truly left. Gabriel, pale and shaken, couldn't believe it. The blood of a murderer ran through his veins, and he had unknowingly followed in his grandfather's footsteps, entangled in another deadly love triangle. Ethan, sensing the danger, stepped forward, trying to calm Gabriel, but the damage was done. Gabriel's love for Isabelle, tainted by the past, turned to despair. In a moment of madness, he rushed toward the cliffs, but Ethan tackled him to the ground, struggling to save him from his fate. As they grappled near the edge, Isabelle screamed, the sound lost in the wind. Ethan, using all his strength, pulled Gabriel back from the brink, the two men collapsing in exhaustion on the ground. In the aftermath, Isabelle made a decision. She couldn't stay in Windhaven, where the shadows of the past loomed too large, where love and tragedy were intertwined in a way she could never escape. She loved Ethan, and perhaps part of her would always care for Gabriel. But the darkness that had haunted her family was too much to bear. Without looking back, Isabelle left Windhaven, leaving behind both men who loved her. As the mist rolled in from the sea, the lighthouse stood as a solitary sentinel, watching over the town that kept its secrets close. Ethan and Gabriel, now bound by the shared burden of the past, could only watch as she disappeared into the distance, knowing that the woman they both loved had chosen a future free from the shadows of their love. And Windhaven, with its cliffs and its secrets, remained the same, a place where love was as dangerous as the waves crashing against the shore, and where some mysteries were better left unsolved.